Hi everyone, it's Tash from Undefined Life here. As you can see, I'm in my dressing gown and I felt called to hop on in an impromptu way and share in a real way. And I think I feel called to do this in the hope that me sharing in an authentic way will also help other people who maybe are experiencing this to feel validated and seen in what they're feeling at the moment. Because I know I'm not alone in this experience, although I feel alone, but I know I'm not. And the realizations that I'm going to share with you now come at the time of the Scorpio new moon, which for me has been so powerful. And in my birth chart, in my natal chart, I have Pluto's in Scorpio for me. So this is like a double whammy. It's just very, very, very potent. Lots of density coming through. And this unmistakable sense of being faced with the somewhat uncomfortable truths of my experience right now. And those truths, I think, are echoed throughout the Lightworker community, which is why I wanted to create this video, because this is not something, I know it's not something that is exclusive to me. I've spoken to more than a couple of people over the last week whose experiences and sentiments echoed my own in their own iteration. And so that's why I'm making this video, because I want to address that it can be really fucking hard to be on this path. And I might get emotional. And I'm going to allow myself to get emotional if I do, because it's okay to feel how we feel. But what's been emerging for me, and I wonder if, or I know, in fact, that many people will be feeling the same way, that being on this path, being an awake, evolved being in the world that we're living in at the moment, being a light worker, a highly sensitive individual, a starseed, whatever label you identify with, it can be a really lonely and somewhat arduous feeling path. And I want to just sort of cut into that now and say that we're not victims of this. We chose this as souls. We're not victims of this path, but that doesn't make it necessarily any easier to navigate during the human experience. And the reason I think it feels so difficult at times is because we are living at odds with the world. We are here, perhaps the people watching this video or people in the wider community that we might not have met face to face, but we've connected with online. We are here as light workers to pave a new way, to be part of the team of light incarnate that disassembles this fear-based reality, this fear-based matrix that has been built within alongside the paradigm of the patriarchy and the wounded masculine programming. We have come here to dismantle that and to be pioneers of the new way. Very Aquarian energy, right? Very innovative and progressive and don't tell me what to fucking do, I'll do it my way kind of energy. That's what we're here to seed. And that's the time that we're moving into as a collective now. We're starting to see all of this instability and this disorder and this dysfunction and lots of dissonance, which will just continue to intensify because we have to shake things up. You know, we're not here to continue to perpetuate the ways of the past. But I'm going to talk about this more at the individual level and how this is affecting the individual. One of my last videos was about the collective, if you're interested in that. And at the level of the individual, for me personally, this is manifesting in a way that is really triggering my core wounding. So for my whole life, I have felt, at various points, I have felt unseen, unheard, not recognised for my being, not recognised for who I am. And my unique brilliance, that's a big thing for me. I'm a projector in human design, so that recognition theme is huge for me. Not feeling recognised for my unique brilliance, for my essence, for the unique medicine that I bring into the world by just being me. And I've been feeling throughout most of my life this sense of I don't belong. I've always been an outsider. Growing up, you know, with not much money and a single mum and a dad with lots of mental health issues, I was the kid with the crazy dad and who always had the shit car and who lived on a shit council estate. And I used to have friends who would come over and say, is this where you live? And I would always feel so ashamed of being not like everyone else in some respect. I didn't have family around me. It was just me and my mum. And I always felt alienated. I never felt like I had a place, a true place. And this, was seeded even sort of coming into the world between two cultures. My mum, who was born in West Africa in Portuguese culture, and then being raised in the UK, I never felt at home here. And I also never felt at home in Portuguese, in Portugal, and I've never been to my mum's home island, but I've never felt like I belonged with either culture. I was kind of straddling both and not fitting into either. And then growing up, I always was on the sidelines of my friendship groups. I always felt like I was without that group, that container that I saw so many other people having. I saw especially in secondary school, I saw so many girls and guys, but I was looking at other friendship groups of girls and I was thinking, why don't I have that? I never had the group of girls that I felt truly supported and integrated with. I was kind of floated. I was the floater. I floated amongst lots of groups and I was never truly a part of any one group. And this is making me really emotional because it feels so relevant to me now. Even at uni, I was very, very depressed. I had a suicidal episode in my first year and I pushed through university. It was not a heart-based decision. Very, very, very disconnected from myself, in a dissociated state, essentially, for 3 years. And it wasn't really at a time when we were discussing mental health. This was 10 years ago. So being depressed and anxious and feeling all of those kind of very uncomfortable feelings wasn't a conversation that was being had widely. So I felt very unseen during that phase of my life. I didn't feel like anyone was truly understanding what it was that I needed, and I didn't even know what I needed. But I was studying and commuting to uni, living at home. And the feedback I always got from the people at university, the friends that I connected with, was, you don't ever take part. Like, you just, it's like, how you're an outsider. That was the kind of feedback I was getting. And I didn't have the language at the time to communicate that I was feeling so apathetic and indifferent to life that I didn't want to take part. And I didn't have anyone around me that could just hold that space for me and say, I see you in your suffering. And that's still something that I feel very raw about, I think, because there were just so many people in my life that I know wanted the best for me that weren't truly seeing me at that time. And then, fast forward, all these experiences I've had in between of going through my initial awakening and then my Kundalini awakening in 2019, which has left me even more on the outskirts of society, I feel, because it just blasted open an already very sensitive and empathic individual who struggled with conforming to the 9-to-5 patriarchal paradigm, it blew my being open and made it so that I become far more aware of my multidimensionality and the multidimensionality of the world we live in, but with no real outlet for that. So I've had to muddle my way through since 2019, channeling light language and going into trance channeling states, connecting with beings that are not accessible in the 3D form world, and even just aspects of myself that I wasn't aware of. And I felt like I've had to do that largely alone. Joining social media in 2020 actually really helped, because it gave me access to community that I didn't have in my 3D world, in my physical world. But it leads me now to where I am in this particular moment, which is the 6th of November in 2021. And that is a place of feeling like my feet aren't touching the ground anywhere. I'm not rooted anywhere. I still feel deeply unseen and unrecognized for my being. I still feel kind of marginalized, not by anyone else, but in the sense that I just I'm not integrated into the communities I'm a part of. I've started taking up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again, which is great. And that meets a certain need for community, to be around people and to challenge myself physically and mentally. So that does meet a need. And I teach yoga at a studio, which is great. And the community there is very lovely, but they're not my people, in that there are very few people in my reality at the moment that I can contact face to face that truly understand this process of being a light worker. Most people are still very entrenched in the physical form world, and that's not a judgment. But when you are either consciously or kind of, spontaneously, in my case, kind of thrown into the reality that this is not all there is, and there is so much else going on in the world beyond what we're being sold by the media. I think most awakened people are aware that we are living in the midst of an attempted tyrannical takeover from these forces, some of which are not human. And it is very difficult having the awareness of the world we're living in at the moment, with all of the pandemic shit and how that's going to continue to evolve, and the unrest that's going to come from that, and the scarcity that's going to come. Knowing what's coming, knowing the nature of it, that it is malevolent, knowing that, feeling that, connecting to it, not just through the mind, but at that intangible level of knowing. And then also in your physical form world, trying to navigate a world that just doesn't understand you. And that's how I feel at the moment. And I'm sensing that with certain people I'm connecting with, that's how they feel too. They don't feel seen. It's almost like we're not on the same bandwidth. The bandwidth of being an awakened light worker. And I don't mean that like as enlightened, like we're all on a journey. I still have lots of growth and healing to do. I'm not superior to anyone else, but I have awareness. More awareness than I had 5 years ago, certainly. And that means that you're accessing a bandwidth of awareness that not many people are accessing. They all have the potential to access it. Many are choosing not to tune in and do the work and access that frequency. So it feels like a very lonely place, navigating that narrow bandwidth of awareness. And from one soulful being to another, if you're watching this and you resonate with what I'm sharing, I see you. I see you. And I value you. I value you for being here, but more than that, I value you for being on earth at this time, for being here with the awareness that you have, and for choosing to carry on and to do your inner work, and knowing that this is a vibrational war we're in, and that even if everyone around you doesn't understand the path you've taken and that you're taking, I understand. And I know that there are so many other light workers around the world that will understand and that do understand. It's just, it feels unfortunate that we have incarnated and we kind of seem to be everywhere. There isn't, and I think that's the point, right? We're here to seed this level of consciousness across the whole planet. So in many ways, it does feel very, very alienating and lonely because there isn't a cluster of us in one place physically. Geographically, locationally, we're everywhere. And so we are, I think we're very fortunate to be able to connect via social media and virtual platforms. But I am very, very, very much sensing and craving that I need more physical community. I feel like I'm really lacking a physical container of being seen, held, recognized, accepted for who I am. I think most people in my physical reality see me as, you know, the slightly weird one that goes into trance channeling states sometimes and wants to talk about spiritual stuff all the time. I'm like the weird, you know, I'm the cuckoo one that will drop in and out. But, you know, want to be around that for too much because there's too much, right? Being around someone like that all the time. But I know that there are communities and people who I've connected with virtually where they want that too. They want to be in communities and circles where they can share about this stuff openly and vulnerably and share their experience openly and vulnerably. And it's not considered weird. It's considered natural to live in a more multidimensional way, to access all aspects of our being or attempt to access all aspects of our being and to connect with our feelings and our bodies and to live in an embodied way. And that's why I'm sharing this message, because if you're craving this too, if you're longing for this too, you're not weird. You're not. Society will tell you that you're many things and you might get that feedback face to face, but you are the medicine the world needs. This is the message I keep getting from Spirit. Every single person that embodies their truth and that follows their highest joy and that follows the desires of their hearts, you are the medicine. I am the medicine. Every embodied individual on the planet is the medicine the world needs, because the world has been so programmed, so conditioned, so entrenched in fear-based shit for so long that rawness and realness and authenticity is the medicine. So I'm going to wrap this up. I don't want to make it too long. This is just an authentic sharing from my heart to yours. Light workers, I see you.